Day one of the NCAA tournament is in the books. Couple of upsets along the way. You had last night, late 11 seed Drake beating 6 seed Missouri by 10. McNeese, 12 seed, beating Clemson 69-67. Some of the other favorites taking care of business. Tennessee winning big. They were a 2. St. John's a 2, also winning big. Michigan survives a comeback by UC San Diego to win 68-65 as a 5 seed. And today, of course, tournament action again starting just after 12 o'clock. Be sure to head down to Wayland Brewing. Sal Capaccio will be doing the Extra Point Show live from 10 to 12. And then, of course, the tournament after that. To football. Stephon Diggs leaves New England without a contract. He had a physical with the Patriots. The two sides plan to remain in contact, according to Jordan Schultz. The Bills are hosting free agent defensive tackle Leki Fotu on a visit. He already visited with the Raiders. 330-pound defensive tackle, was a rotational piece for Arizona, playing about 40% of the snaps in his career there, but he missed all but 2 games for the New York Jets last year. So the Bills looking to be in the defensive tackle market. The Sabres falling last night 5-2 in their first ever game in Utah. They did score an empty net goal on themselves at the end. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Buffalo, a high stick in front. Doesn't appear to have been called. Yeah,
give him the puck.
Give him the puck.
Give him the puck.
Sabres throw it away, and this is going to maybe go into the net, off the boards. Oh, my goodness, it did.
Give him the puck.
Do you think I hadn't heard Rob?
Oh, yeah, Rob.
I watched the highlights, that highlight with the sound down.
Do you think Rob was, in that moment, less broadcaster and more guys? Listen.
He was perfectly representing what the fan in section 326 would have been yelling as they put it in their own net.
Would Lindy have been yelling that? Would everybody have been yelling? Maybe not.
Maybe.
The Sabres scored in their own goal. This is not a butt goal.
No,
it's not
it isn't. It's not deflecting it into your own net.
It's not a goalie goal. It's not the goal. We had another weird one this year.
Okay, before the show, Josh says to me it's the first time in the drought that they've scored on themselves like that.
Is that right?
And
it feels like it. I feel like we remember
just thinking
a moment
that was
like
true. I'm over here thinking there's no way that could possibly be right. I thought that they did it earlier in the year. They didn't do it earlier in the year. The play I was thinking of is when a goalie scored on them.
A goalie goal, yeah.
That's different.
What happened there? I mean, you've had your own team score on you accidentally off of a stick or, a skate or a butt.
The butt goal that Pesic scores on Mike Smith here is one of the craziest ways to ever score on yourself. If you would even call it scoring on yourself. The Coyotes scored on themselves.
Right, because the puck landed in his gear and then he skated into the net.
Yeah, it was in his
We might have to do
pants.
a retroactive as a goalie segment with Owen on that one.
Okay.
I mean, that's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the puck lands in your pants. What do you do?
Like any YouTube video you search that's 10 craziest goals in hockey history, that better be on the list.
Owen, is there a drill for that? Is there some sort of preparation?
I think if you get the puck stuck in your pants, you just have to skate at the other net and see if you can't just bulldoze the other goalie into the net.
He didn't know. Is that we're back to a game against Arizona? Does that mean
10 years ago?
Does that mean his equipment maybe was ill-fitting? How is it possible?
That's trying to have big pants so you take up more net, so you can't feel the puck squeeze in there.
Right.
That's what that is.
He paid for it.
A lot of guys wear internal belts so their pants aren't tight, so they got those big pillowy pants.
Yeah,
that's what that was. That's what he would be taught to do, though. You don't know where the puck is, just go back.
100%. Yeah, you get back to your goal line and kind of just try and skate and wait.
Yeah,
go backwards. But what if it's in my pants?
Right.
Well, that's a risk we're willing to take.
Yeah. All right. A new one, though.
Yeah, a new one. The Sabres get scored on against they score. I mean, Tage, anytime goal? I don't get that.
I don't think so.
It's unfortunate.
I think, no. You get the anytime goal of the Utah player that didn't probably touch it for 25 seconds.
Shouldn't hockey have own goals?
Like soccer does?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
not every goal in soccer
that happened in soccer, it would have said Tage Thompson and then parentheses OG.
Right.
And the OG isn't like the cool OG. It would be like own goal, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that would make sense.
In soccer, it can be pretty cruel, but not all goals that go in off a defender are own goals.
No, if it deflects off a player in soccer, it's not an own. I don't think.
It depends how far out it is, or if the deflection, if the shot was going to go wide and then it goes in. Anyway, yeah, the Sabres scored in their own net. With the net empty because they were down 3-2.
They were down.
Listen, I view it as teaching new fans of the sport some of the funny little idiosyncrasies, the funny little features. Hey, why is the goalie not there? Hey, we scored in that net. Does that count? They made an announcement on the on the PA system that it did count. So they explained that goal counts.
They felt the need to.
Yes. Funny enough, they actually called in Gene Steratore to do it for them.
You sure? Yeah. I think he was busy debating with water bottles on the court or whatever.
He was busy.
Good thing they were also introduced to the goaltender interference that we saw. That was a ticky-tack goalie interference that took a goal off the board for the Sabres. When you can't even see on camera. But whatever. Malenstein, I think, is the one in front. You don't even see him really touch the goalie, but he inhibits his space or some sort of language I heard on the Utah hockey highlight broadcast. Like, I don't know.
Who knows?
But whatever. They had a lengthy delay of checking if a player slightly touched the goalie and taking goals off the board because of it. That's fun.
Yeah. Maybe you were watching the Sabres. Maybe you were watching the tournament. It was, late night, chock full of basketball games. Mm-hmm. Was it a good opening day? I have a theory.
It wasn't early.
No.
It certainly wasn't early. When was the first time we had a close game was 7 o'clock. It felt like 8 o'clock. The afternoon, there was no buzzer beaters or big, giant upsets, not even close games. Everything was 15, 20 points apart.
Yeah. Sometimes the game would threaten to get close, and then it would not. Your margin of... Michigan beat UC San Diego by 3, but your margin of victory yesterday, we're looking at 10, 30, 25, 10, 9. That Michigan game with 3.
Arkansas-Kansas late was good.
It was. That was Arkansas leading the whole way. Kansas got close. My theory is that we think that the tournament is 80% buzzer beaters in close games, and then you get to the tournament, and often it's about 20%. Mm-hmm. It's not nearly as breathtakingly, oh my goodness, as... I sound like a hater here. I'm just hoping for a better day today.
Well, I don't even think yesterday was 20%. Yesterday felt like 0%.
No.
Yesterday was nothing. Yesterday, the highlight was a fan throwing a water bottle on the court after the Louisville coach was screaming at the ref.
Yeah.
It was like the most memorable thing that happened yesterday. I'm on the ESPN scoreboard, looking through it, and what is the thumbnail for that game? It is the water bottle.
Yeah.
It's a water bottle on the court. Was the highlight of the game. So no, I don't want to sound like a hater either. Just no, it didn't. I don't think it lived up. At least yesterday, it didn't live up.
Yeah, a lot of double digits. 21, 15, 25, 30, 20, 10. 9, 25.
I also don't want to do the thing that I'm kind of bracing for a lot happening today, which is, is NIL killing the NCAA? Trying to figure out why there weren't close games yesterday, making it more than it was. It might have just been a day like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes days like that happen, and I don't like what they did yesterday. I mentioned that they have their red zone version of their broadcast. NCAA. It's called Fast Break. CBS does it, and for what I remember from that show it was just red zone. It was maybe one guy you would hear once in a while that would just toss you from game to game to game, and then it would be the play-by-play and the color commentary, and they would just go to whatever game was in action. They've changed that show to now they're making it a combination of red zone and Manningcast, where there are 4 guys now sitting in chairs that are always on the show talking. So it's not really red zone anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't get Harlan, for instance. I get these 4 guys that are talking. And I watched 2 minutes of it, and all they were talking about is whether they should have contracts in NCAA sports and whether that would help closer games. And I'm immediately just I'm not doing this. Take Factory while I'm watching one of these games. So I think it was just a bad day. That's it.
Well, a new day today. A new day dawns. More games today. For me, it's obviously tough. Without Syracuse involved, I don't have a region that I'm really keyed in on. I don't have a game that I'm living and dying with. It's been a while since that has happened. So it's different. The thing I did yesterday, you've got your bracket if you filled out a bracket, or maybe you're placing some friendly wagers or some actual wagers. I saw something that I think last year in the tournament, if you would just bet underdogs, just bet under every underdog in every game, you would have come out way ahead, because underdogs tend to be undervalued, and it is upset season. And these teams, matchups, blah, blah, blah. So I made a decision yesterday, and if anybody wants to do this today, I might recommend it for a modest gambling if you want to try. I just bet $3 on like 12 different underdogs. Not a parlay, just $3 on underdogs. And some of those, you're winning $3 because they're not that big of an underdog. Others, you're winning $40 because, UNC Wilmington, they lost, whatever. But it's the day, and I thought, how do I want to get invested in this tournament? And I thought, I just want to root for the underdog every single time. So I bet $3 on 12 different games. And at the end of it all, I came out up $3. That's a win. I got to root for all my underdogs. I banked a little, $3. That's my exciting day.
Doesn't even feel like a win if you've only come away with $3.
Honestly, it feels like a win because I didn't come away with 12 losses.
And, to be fair, if your goal is rooting for the underdogs, the one thing that I don't like is when I'm rooting too hard for my bracket and, like yesterday, Alabama State makes it close with Auburn at the end of the first half. And I don't want to be the guy that's going, oh no, I have Auburn in the national championship. I can't root for this 16 seed to beat them because it'll ruin my bracket. You want to root for the 16 seed. You should probably anyway, even if you have Auburn in your final or whatever in your bracket. You should just root for the 16 seed. Not that it got there anyway. They got blown out in the second half. So, you doing it again today?
I don't know. I might. I haven't decided.
You could bet all the favorites. Go the other way.
That return would be, yes, but that return would be considerably less because some of them, you bet $3, you're going to win 10 cents because they're such prohibitive favorites.
Right, because you only won, you were up $3, but what did you win 4 of them? 5 of the 12?
I think so. The biggest win might have been 14.
Versus if you bet all the favorites, you might need like 10 of 12.
Yeah, right.
To make that work.
Yep.
Because like if you bet $3 on Duke to win today, you might, where you can net like 10 cents.
The other thing about betting
if that
all underdogs is if you do that and a 14 beats a 3, who had that? You get to say, I did.
That's true.
It's part of a mosaic of just, I don't know, I threw a bunch of bets up there just for something to do while I was watching those games. Again, like $3 bets.
Well, my bracket's already busted trying to root for an underdog because I had UC San Diego in the Final Four. Did research on like who was the best sleeper team, Cinderella team. I landed on them, and that's the risk of doing that is they're out in one night. Now it feels like it's over, even though they were close. They almost beat Michigan.
My toxic trait, how people say like, "What's your toxic trait?" My toxic trait / old manism is. I saw Yahoo Sports tweet out like, "Is your bracket busted?" I think like, I get not quite visibly mad, but the idea of how many perfect brackets are left? None. The answer is none. The answer is always going to be none. No one's ever going to get it right. No one should expect to get it right. Your bracket's busted. Oh my God, everybody else's is. Congratulations. That's my toxic trait. Is we used to on this show when I was younger and a little bit more obnoxious say nobody cares about your bracket. I'd yell about your bracket. Nobody cares about your bracket. It's fine. You can have a bracket and have fun, but. Man, the idea of there it goes this year. Like, yeah, right. Just like Wednesday comes after Tuesday. That's how this is supposed to go. This is normal. This is the progression of you're supposed to get your bracket busted.
Do you care about not getting the perfect bracket? But I did see an article. I think actually was it? Yeah, here it is. It was on the NCAA's website. The longest an NCAA bracket has ever stayed perfect. What the record is?
No.
Okay.
You can tell me.
That's out there.
You can tell me. Is it into the Sweet 16?
It's 49 games. That's 2019, which went all the way into the Sweet 16. Picked through the Sweet 16 correctly. So he got to the Elite 8, and then he busted. So got one wrong. But that should go to show you right there. The furthest anyone has ever made it was getting to the Elite 8 with a perfect bracket.
Right.
That's the record all time. So, yeah, you're not winning it. You're not getting the whole thing perfect.
No, it's very difficult to do. But anyway, hope you enjoyed your first day of the tournament. Today is day 2. Weekend is fun, too, because weekend the games get a little better. And whatever, the whole concept of it, I was explaining it to my kids. Like, hey, it's very simple. These two teams are going to play. And if you lose, you're out. And if you win, you keep going until only one team's left.
Yeah.
And explaining that, who knows if they actually picked that up. But whatever, it was fun. And watching the games, trying to teach them a little bit about basketball. Just hey, this is going to be, it was basically a lesson in, this is going to be on the television for the next 3 weeks. You're just going to, when you look at the TV, Mommy, you're going to see basketball. Because my wife loves basketball too. So, they're going to start looking at the TV instead of Sabres games or Bills. College basketball for weeks. So today's day 2. 12:15 again. Wait, is there a marquee matchup?
I don't think you've got, is it Baylor's the first one? Yeah, Baylor and Mississippi State. The first you have Nate Oates playing at 12:40.
Okay.
Alabama against, he won't be playing.
Are we allowed, is it okay to root for Nate Oates? What's the status of Nate Oates? Is there
I don't know.
Root for that guy? Because I feel like I would root for Alabama to win this thing.
I find myself rooting for him and them, and I don't ever really feel the other side of that. I don't know why you would. I mean, he left, sure, but what
do you expect? Right. It's not exactly Jack Eichel winning the Stanley Cup. He didn't leave on bad terms. He left on, what do you expect? He went to Alabama, and they gave him a truckload of money and everything, and he's turned them into a power basketball school. And
They also play a super fun style. Like, they're up and down the court, tons of shooting, tons of scoring.
I feel like I should be
defense.
Rooting, and I probably will be rooting for Nate Oates.
Yeah. I don't think there's another end of that. At least I don't feel you should, jerk, you left.
Well, they had their controversy a couple years ago about the player on the team and like the guy that was involved in a murder or whatever.
Okay.
It's a little hazy. I should look it up and get the details. But
there was something about the gun being in his car, but it wasn't him.
And
but
who was telling the truth. So there's a little bit of, obviously maybe a lot of that, but
but not for the Buffalo connection.
Right.
Like, would I not root for him? In fact, that would make me want to root for him. That's the old UB coach that's doing that.
Yep.
I would be rooting for Alabama. The big game I would say of today, like the marquee game, is Memphis against Colorado State. That's a 5 versus a 12. The 12 is favored though. So if you're doing your upset thing, you have to figure out. I guess you'd be picking the 5.
That means I picked the 5.
Yeah. So that game is one that I've seen highlighted by a lot of people, and that's at 2:00 today.
Yeah. 803-0550, our phone number. Paul Hamilton at 7. He'll give us the rundown on what happened in Utah last night. The Sabres lost a game in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And they scored in their own goal. And there's a lot of smoke about offer sheets and a good conversation about the Sabres offseason, what to expect, because whatever, it could get interesting in terms of their own players maybe getting plucked by offer sheets. So we'll get to that along the way, get you ready for the tournament. There's also plenty of stuff on football contracts, and I don't know that a congressional law is required, but it's worth considering that the reporting and then the reality of these NFL contracts, it's unbelievable. The T. Higgins contract is jarringly cheap and easy. DK Metcalf, I don't want to give that guy $150 million. The Steelers aren't going to. They're paying him a totally reasonable price and timeline as well. Plenty on NFL contracts and some of the moves out there and how they kind of, everything's a big lie.
Bosa's contract is crazy. That it's you pointed this out, didn't you, on Twitter, that his cap hit in year 2 is bigger than the cap hit in year 1
on a 1-year deal.
Though it's only a 1-year deal.
It's a 1-year deal, and it is a bigger cap hit in year 2.
Right.
This is why I'm constantly telling you, stop worrying about the salary cap. You don't know how much money they have. They have as much as they want. You can figure it out. Now, next year, they're going to be $7 million dead cap on Bosa, on Joey Bosa.
Unless they sign him.
So anyway, which means next year dead cap on Milano and Bosa is $19 million if the two of them leave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Plenty to get to. Rich in Lakeview before the break. Hey, Rich, good morning.
Good morning. You know what, guys? I can't share your enthusiasm with the tournament because just like a Buffalonian on a 76-degree day this week, I was, instead of enjoying it, I was worrying about it was going to be 40 on Friday. But the only thing we got the tournament here next year. Arena's falling apart. We've got a hole in the ground that's been there for 13 years. The mayor says we have no parking ramps in the state of the city address, and we have to leave the parking lot across the street for Bass Pro FC. So, I don't know. And then we got the Sabres scoring on their own net. So, I was wondering, after watching this team play, is there an equivalent, and this is the serious part of the call, in the NHL, the Wanderlich test for NHL players like they do in the NFL to measure intelligence? Because I know Tage Thompson couldn't do one pull-up 10 years ago.
That was Middlestat.
Middlestat, yeah.
Middlestat, excuse me. My thing, Tage Thompson is, quote, well, I didn't know we had a delayed penalty coming. This is the second time that this situation has happened in the last 2 weeks where they just needed to let the other team touch the puck and with an empty net have a possible 6-on-4, 6-on-3. And I don't know if the malaise in the organization is so much so there and playing out the string. I mean, say what you want, but just when you think, I mean, I wish I had a bingo card for most embarrassing moments because this is almost the cherry on top. And I don't know. I mean, you give Bryson an extended contract. The guy didn't even know how to say Cheektowaga. That's where the plane takes off for road trips. I mean, I just don't know how. I mean, as a 55-year fan, I'm not stopping the season tickets. I'm going to watch the game still. But I'm looking at these guys. I thought it was physical. They're just not that good. And when you hear Ray yelling at the TV himself, they're just not that smart. And that might be the worst part of it all.
Thanks, Rich.
There is definitely a lot of moments where you go, the hockey IQ of some of these players doesn't seem to be super high. A Tage in general is not somebody that I usually have that thought about. So yeah, last night was a moment where, sure, you want him to get the puck. There would be one thing, though, of not noticing it, and then there's another of noticing it and not knowing what to do. And that, to me, would be the difference there. When it happened 2 weeks ago, I think they knew there was a delayed penalty, and they didn't give him the puck. That is worse to me than, you just didn't see it, which is what Tage said last night. So that's a little different. But I had these questions about Cousins a lot before he gets traded. And there are other players, too, where just you're making mistakes on where you are. And Samuelson did this the other night with a breakaway. You're just in the wrong spot. You're in the wrong spot. You're playing a play wrong. You're dumping it in when there's a clear lane on the front. Like, I think Benson is honestly their most intelligent player on the ice sometimes, and he's the 19-year-old. So, yeah, I don't think it's an unfair criticism of a lot of their players. I wouldn't put it on all of them, though.
Sorry.
But I don't know.
I don't have much on it. I mean, teams make mistakes. It's we're getting another Dylan Cousins is now a brand new player. It took him a day, and he's a brand new player.
Did he do something again last night?
I mean, he leads them in scoring and slot shots and
I saw that
quality
graphic.
chances. He's just a brand new player immediately.
Yeah.
Is it because they're choosing to lean into him as an offensive player instead of thinking he's some sort of defensive stalwart?
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I if you can still get upset or bothered by a loss in midweek in March, I'm not amazed. I give you that credit. I'm one that when they win a couple of games in a row, I do not think they have in fact figured it out. They lose to Utah last night. I don't think they played necessarily poorly, but they had a low light. They had a pretty embarrassing play scoring in your own net. But that happens, I guess. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. I'd forgotten the tournament's here next year. That's fun.
Yeah.
Tournament will be here. Good. Jeremy and Joe, you can give us a ring if you want.
Cousins did score again last night.
He scored again.
They lost 5-1.
He's a brand new player.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Happy Tournament Day 2. Happy Friday. Temps in the 40s. It's cold again. We had that glimpse of what summer and late spring feels like. We're back to cold for a while. We'll deal with it. We'll handle it. Paul Hamilton, top of the hour, to give us the recap on the Sabres. Your thoughts on the tournament, and we got to get to these contracts. The Bosa contract is really interesting because it. I wonder if we can get anything from it. What does it mean? The numbers tell a different story than 1 year, $18 million, and it's not surprising that the Bills would spread out the hit. But the way that it's structured, maybe you've heard the phrase void years. There are 4 of them. 4 void years on the Bosa deal, which means they're offsetting the cost an awful lot. 803-0550. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. Jeremy White here for Wayland Brewing Company. Wayland Brewing will be there today, 10 to 12. Sal's going to be there for his show. We're going out a little later in the day, tournament day. So if you're looking for a place to go, whether it's today, tomorrow, really any day, Wayland Brewing, one of my favorite spots. Always looking for reasons to go. We're going with friends later on today. And, it's about the space, outdoors, indoors. There are fire pits. There's bocce courts outdoors, indoors, beautiful space, and always something going on at Wayland. Whether it's there's a concert coming up April 4th. Killer's cover band's going to be there. Mr. Brightside, you can get tickets to that. If it's Mondays, kids eat free. Wednesdays, they've got deals. Fish fry Fridays, so today will be a Fish Fry Friday. That's available all day, even takeout until Easter. Wayland has great beer, great food. You're starting to see the beer out in more grocery stores, more distribution. So pick some up. The Super Deluxe is a hazy IPA, and the Case Study is a West Coast. Those are 2 of their kind of flagship beers. The Waylanders, a German Pilsner. Great beers. The food is incredible at Wayland. An elevated food menu, great hospitality. Lots going on. A definite must stop. You got friends coming in from out of town? Put Wayland at the top of the list because it's one of the best spots we've got. Wayland Brewing, 3740 North Buffalo Street in Orchard Park. Get there today, 10 to 12. Sal's going to be out there for his show, and we'll have a great time throughout the day. At Wayland Brewing, 3740 North Buffalo Street in Orchard Park.
Day one of the NCAA tournament in the books. The 1 seeds take care of business easily. Auburn and Houston both advanced yesterday. Same with the 2 seeds, Tennessee and St. John's. A couple of the upsets that we had was number 12, McNeese beating Clemson 69-67. 12 beating the 5. Drake, a number 11 seed, beats Missouri 67-57. Coach John Calipari and Arkansas beat Kansas. They, as a 10 seed, go to the next round. Today, 12:15, the action gets started with the first game being Baylor and Mississippi State, a 9-8 matchup, and then Nate Oates in Alabama in action against 15 Robert Morris at 12:40. Sal Capaccio will be at Wayland Brewing from 10 to 12, and then hanging out after for the tournament. To the Sabres, they lose 5-2 in Utah last night. Couple of empty net goals at the end. It was a 1-goal game with about a minute to go. The Bills are having a defensive tackle in for a visit, Leaky Fotu, formerly of the Cardinals, and then last year just 2 games with the Jets due to a bunch of injuries, rotational piece when he was in Arizona. Stephon Diggs leaves New England without a contract. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Paterka in the far circle. Zucker, now you got your 2-on-1 on this side. Thompson takes the pass, walks in, nothing there. Brings it back to Zucker. Across, scores! What a passing play! And J.J. Paterka with the dart to finish it, and we are tied at 1.
One of the first moments of the game. For the moments in your life, go forth to Firth Jewelers. Moments of the game brought to you by Firth Jewelers. Sabres fall to Utah 5-2.
I was with Josh last week when Joey Bosa becomes an option. And I mean, his excitement of he shows me the text and he's like, what do I do? I got his number. I'm like, man, go call him, go talk to him, And he just came back and he's just, him. I mean, he's just glowing because he's like, I went over there and I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to get him. Yeah. It's just so cool to see. Not only did you just get paid, not only are you a part of a program where you've won the MVP, you're having all success, but how much it means to you to have a pride in the place you play. And I think that's obviously the goal you want. Not just in keeping the guys, but they develop this pride of what you guys have in your building and continue to want to build on that culture themselves, not just you guys having to do it, but they want to be a part of that.
That's Andrew Whitworth talking to Brandon Bean, telling a story there. I love Whitworth. I think he's great. Great on Amazon. Podcast he does with Fitz.
He's really got the hoodie and jacket look going, too.
He does. He tells the story of the first time he met Sean McVay. One of the stories there is because his career, where was he before? Cincinnati, I know. And
he's older than McVay, I think, when he gets to the Rams.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the story is some version of he joins the Rams when he's 36, and he's told about this McVay guy. He goes in, meets him in 5 minutes, and he's like, I'm on board. I like this guy. Like the way that McVay is able to command a room and let you, whatever. I don't know if it was make you feel like he knew you for 10 years or whatever. He just loved the vibe right away.
Yeah.
And was sold on this super young coach. I'm in. I'll play for him right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, Andrew Whitworth. A couple things NFL-wise. Excuse me. You can give us a call on the Sabres. Lost last night if you want. On the tournament. We're getting contract details on a couple of different deals. Bosa is one of them. Can we start with DK Metcalf, though?
Sure. I don't even know the Metcalf thing.
The Metcalf thing. The DK Metcalf contract is out. 5 years, $150 million.
Right. $30 million per year.
I don't want to give I don't want to give DK Metcalf $150 million. I could never do that. The details are out. 2 years, $30 million per. And then an out. Yeah. After 2 years, there's an out with a dead cap of $18 million.
Yep.
That's it. That is I wish the Bills had done that number. His cap hit this year, DK Metcalf's cap hit this year is $11 million.
Yeah.
On
nothing.
5 years for 30, it's $11 million. And the cap is so it's my new axe to grind because the cap exists to make you think you can't get good players when you definitely can. And it has just occurred to me today. This is today that this occurs to me that we all know the NFL contracts are reported to look like something they're not.
Yep.
And if you ask anybody in the NFL world, like, well, why is that? Well, the agent's good for them. It's good for the agent for Metcalf. I mean, Adam Schefter's going to tweet his or her name, and say, so-and-so negotiated a $150 million deal. So it's good for the agent. It occurs to me today, you know who else it's really good for? NFL owners.
Yeah.
Owners get the perception that they have committed unbelievable amounts of money that they have not committed. Mm-hmm. They did not commit $150 million to DK Metcalf. They did not commit 5 years to DK Metcalf. But it looks like it. Yesterday, the Cincinnati Bengals, they were dunking on people in the media who thought that they would not pay T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And turns out they did pay those two. The details on the Higgins contract are unbelievable. You kind of can't believe Higgins would have accepted it. Because here it is, written at ProFootballTalk.com. $20 million roster bonus right when he signs on. But the only guarantee at signing is $10 million for next year's offseason roster bonus. Basically, the Bengals have a year-to-year option on T. Higgins. They can pay him $36 million for this year if he hits all his bonuses and plays every game. And then they can move on before next year becomes guaranteed. The Cincinnati Bengals, who just signed, a 4-year, $120 million contract for T. Higgins? It's roughly a 1-year, $36 million guarantee.
And then they can do whatever they want.
And the 36 is not guaranteed, is to earn that.
Yep.
Yeah. These owners get away with pretending they've paid more than they did.
Yeah.
And we all just buy it. And we all say, well, I guess you can't have a guy like DK Metcalf. The cap is too tight. No, it's not. You can have that guy. Mm-hmm. So now I'm mad about the Bills not getting DK Metcalf. They should have paid him. They should have done that. Yeah. The package was not too bad, and the money's not bad.
What's the thing I want to look at then to kind of determine, even on that front, like who's really spending the money? Who's really, because the cap is $280 whatever, but you can really spend. The point of the Bosa contract is you could put. Is he on a 1-year deal?
He's on a 1-year, $18 million deal.
Bosa? Yeah. 12.
Sorry, you're right. 1 year, 12.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack was 18. 1 year, 12.
In his situation, okay, like on the cap at least, you'll end up paying $12 million, but you can put the money wherever you want. That's maybe the biggest point here is you can put money wherever you want. Bosa, Joey Bosa, who's on a 1-year contract in the year 2025, will cost the Bills in 2029 $1.8. $1.8 million in 2029. 3 years after he's maybe played for the Bills, he'll still be costing them. It's almost like a planned buyout on a contract like you would have in hockey, just ahead of time. So you could do whatever you want with it. So do I want to look at just total cash spent on a year to find out, like, all right, who's the most? Because the Bills are number one in that this year. Mm-hmm. Right now for 2025, total cash spent. This season, at the moment, the Bills will be number one at $304 million.
How much of that is because they spent the cash on Josh Allen?
Probably a lot of it.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of it.
And, right, and they just signed a bunch of extensions. Rousseau, Shakir, Bernard. These are brand new extensions.
And a lot of that cash is probably getting paid now, even though the cap isn't.
All guaranteed money has to be paid right away.
Okay. So
it goes into escrow.
So that would be a reason why then, is they're paying their own guys, I guess. Next year they'll be fourth, and as the time goes on, 2027 they go back to number one ahead of time. So whatever, they're still near the top of the list. But if you want to look at the Bengals for that, you mentioned how it's like a 1-year thing. They're right back in 20th in 2 years on this one number, at least. So really, you could just put the money wherever you want.
Well, Bosa, a $7 million dead cap number next year, it'll be interesting. The best case scenario for Bosa, one of the best case scenarios is he's awesome.
He's awesome and he stays healthy.
If he's awesome and he stays healthy, you're going to want to get a deal done, if you're the Bills, as soon as possible.
Right.
And extend him. The fact that he's got a $7 million dead cap hit next year, because his number is low this year and they moved all the money around, means he gets 5 sacks in weeks 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Sign him.
Do it then.
You might want to. And
yeah,
I know you want him to stay healthy into the playoffs, and you also might want to bubble wrap him until he gets to the playoffs. But if he has a monster year, he hits the open market. And while you have a $7 million dead cap number as incentive to bring him back, he could just leave and go somewhere else.
Right. And that's happened to them. Leonard Floyd did that to them 2 years ago, right? 1 year deal, and he had a double-digit sack season, and he went and he took another deal. He went elsewhere for bigger money. Didn't Clowney do the same thing?
He's moved on almost
Maybe he's done that a lot.
All the time after 1 year.
But he took a 1 year deal. All right, I'm looking now. He took a bunch of 1 year deals. But his most recent 1 year deal that he took in Baltimore, and then he had a very good year with the Ravens, and he went outside a 2 year, $20 million contract. So the price went up.
Yeah.
And he got an extra year. So if that happens, though, with Bosa, I might still be hesitant to do it in the middle of the season because of his injury history. I just would be afraid that he has 5 sacks in 5 games, and, okay, he looks great, and we have the 7.2 next year, so let's pay him. Let's give him a 3-year extension. And then between that point and the end of the season, he has a major injury. Because then that's not going to feel great. Because that injury risk is always going to be there for him. So I might want to see a full season of him staying healthy, especially before, if I were the Bills, I'd really want to lock into him and commit more than I've already committed. Because they've committed a little bit, but it's spread out. It's very spread out over 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
5 years
on a deal that's not that expensive,
right?
So they're keeping that number low. So it is a low risk gamble, but it's now a lower risk gamble over 2 years than it is a 1 year gamble because of the way the money is being spread. Anyway, sorry, boring salary cap talk, but you can kind of.
But that's the Bosa conversation, right?
That now. Right. Yeah. This is where the contract can lead you into what they expect. Hey, will you take $12 million? It's not really that simple. The answer to that is sure, yeah. And it's 9 with incentives here and this and this and this and this. But the way that it is put on your own cap tells the story of what you might be willing to do a year from now. So that's the Bosa deal. Get a Bosa jersey? Like, would you bet on him being here a second year? It might not be a bad bet. He says he wants to win a Super Bowl. He knows he doesn't have very many years left. When we talked to our guy in L.A., the Charger guy said, this guy wants a Super Bowl. If he comes here and they get close, there's no doubt they're going to want him back if he's good. And if you're close, I feel like you'd want to stay. So, over-under seasons played with the Bills, Joey Bosa, 1.5. I might put 2 as the favorite. Restructure, extend. I might put 2 as the favorite.
I would just be, I might bet the under just because of health.
They also
and the Bills' treatment of health. If he is banged up all year, their motivation to keep him around might change. In 2 different cases, they've extended the time with the Bills for both Milano and Vaughn off of seasons that were basically fully lost to injury. Well, at the same time, though, they also shrunk the amount of time that they're with the Bills. Like, they took a year off of Milano's contract.
Yeah.
Right? While also... Well, with Vaughn... Very quickly, because we didn't do this with Milano at all. Last year when Vaughn took that pay cut, I remember it being said and thinking myself, oh, he took a pay cut because maybe they made it clear to him or they made some indication that they weren't going to keep him, that they were going to move on. Were they about to do that with Milano? Did Milano take a pay cut because they were going to move on otherwise? Now?
What would the number have been? Was it possible at all?
I think it was possible. It would have been sizable, like double digits, I think.
Yeah. 803-0550 our number on cap stuff, which can sometimes be boring, and sorry if it was. It's Friday. Happy Friday. Jeremy and Joe, 803-0550 our phone number. Jump in the chat with us, hang out. They're all talking about, I don't even know, weird stuff.
They're
talking about Sal. I checked in on the chat.
Sal, they were trying to figure out who my jersey is, and nobody has got it right yet, and I would be surprised if somebody does.
Is that because it's a player that never played for the Braves?
Didn't play for the Braves, but did wear a Braves jersey in an NBA game.
There you go. There's your hint, everybody.
Yeah.
803-0550. I checked it on the chat during the afternoon show, and it's a lot of the same cast of characters. They're just here for morning and afternoon. They're
regulars.
They're putting in shifts. Love to have them there. You can give us a ring. Paul, top of the hour to recap the Sabres' loss in Utah. It's Friday. Tournament Friday. I have a great idea for 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Great idea for 9 o'clock. I know it's only 6:47, so you just have to wait till then.
And Scott tracks down the rebound. 2-on-1 the other way. Lewis and Wiltshire. Lewis with the hammer.
Rick Pitino and St. John's on to the next round. The 32 doesn't have a name. Thrilling 32.
Round 2.
Thrilling
16,
32. Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4.
Do you think we should have a nickname for all of them? We have first 4.
Yeah.
So we need something for 64 then, too.
Starting 64.
Starting 64.
What's the 32?
Thrilling 32 is not bad. Let's see if we find something else.
Feels like thrilling is not great, though, because sweet to elite. What's anyway.
Here's some NCAA tournament trivia. There have been 4 Division I programs that have appeared in 10 straight tournaments. Who are the 4?
4 programs in 10 straight tournaments?
Yep.
Okay. Duke?
Nope.
No, I'm sorry. Michigan State. Let me start with
Michigan State, 27 in a row.
I saw that yesterday, Larry. Tom Izzo, 27 in a row.
That is not the longest streak. There's one program with a longer streak than 27.
Gonzaga,
26 in a row. That's correct, but they're third. 26 in a row for Gonzaga.
Okay.
The number one answer to this has made it 35 tournaments straight. And they played yesterday.
This is where you're hit with like McNeese State.
No.
You never know.
35 in a row for
That's how Gonzaga has been that long. There's the dominant.
Were they saying McNeese State yesterday? They were pronouncing it differently than what I would have thought it was.
Okay, Gonzaga, Michigan State, and not Duke.
Kansas.
35 in a row, and then there's one school that's made it 10 times in a row. This one would be the toughest one, I think.
Okay.
But in like a big conference.
Big conference, 10 in a row.
Yep.
Houston's made it a lot lately.
Yep, and they are not the answer.
Purdue.
There you go. Kansas, Michigan State, Gonzaga, and Purdue.
Purdue lost as a 1 seed or 2 seed?
They lost as a 1 seed. Were they the second? There were 2 1 seeds that lost. Virginia lost to UMBC, and then there was another one, and I think maybe that was Purdue.
Yes.
They lost as a 1?
Fairleigh Dickinson.
That's
Purdue.
The 16 seed?
Yep.
Tough.
It's the thing about being a 1 seed. You can't even enjoy the first day of the tournament. It's all stress.
Stress, yeah.
Just don't lose here. Paul Hamilton on the other side. Thanks for instant trivia. When we return, Paul will break down the Sabres' loss in Utah. I have some long-term questions about the Sabres and offer sheet stuff and their offseason, and also want to ask Paul about, like Lindy and how that might be going for year 2 as we get closer to year 2. So stay tuned. Paul Hamilton joining us next. We'll take your calls on the tournament, on lots of different things. And, happy Friday here on WGR.
NCAA tournament got rolling yesterday. Couple of upsets throughout the day. A 12 seed McNeese wins over Clemson 69-67. 11-seeded Drake wins over Missouri 67-57. All the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds took care of business that played yesterday. Houston and Auburn as the number 1s, Tennessee and St. John's as the number 2s. All had a pretty easy time throughout the game. There was a close one late last night. Arkansas ends up winning over Kansas. That's a 10 beating a 7, 79-72. Today in the tournament, it gets started at 12:15 with Baylor and Mississippi State. That's an 8-9 matchup. Nate Oates and Alabama will be in action as the number 2 seed against 15 Robert Morris at 12:40. Of course, games going all the way through the day till late at night. Sabres lost last night, late at night, 5-2 in Utah. Jacob Bryson also signing a 1-year contract extension with the Sabres, $900,000 on that deal. And in football, Stephon Diggs leaves New England without a contract. He had taken a physical with the Patriots. They now know where he's at medically, and Jordan Schultz says that the two sides intend to remain in contact. That's how he put it. The Bills had free agent defensive tackle Leaky Fotu in on a visit, formerly of the Cardinals and the Jets last year. He missed 15 games, though, with the Jets due to injury. Before that, 4 years in Arizona, where he played usually between 35 and 40% of the snaps. Big guy, 6'5", 330. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Paul Hamilton joining us as we recap a game last night that did not feature Alex Ovechkin's 888th goal. He did get that last night in a Caps win over the Flyers.
You know, if he had already had the record, that would have been a nice number to retire on.
888.
Like if Gretzky had been at 885 and Ovechkin gets to 888, be pretty sweet.
It's also right around
the grade 8 getting into 888.
Yeah, it's the time of year where Gretzky passed Gordie Howe, which this day in history for that was maybe last week that he became the all-time leading goal scorer, and Ovechkin is getting closer and closer.
Lost in this, Paul, if you have a thought on this too, lost in this is not only that he's going to break the record, but he's on like a 50-something goal pace. Like, he's playing this year like if he wanted to play another year or two. He's definitely still got it in him. You think?
Yeah, and that's why I think I never really thought, a couple of years ago, that he would break this record because
he would have slowed down by now.
Yeah, I just kind of thought he'd slow down by now and wouldn't be able to keep this pace going at the age he's doing it at. And he's obviously proven me wrong, and is still going strong. And who knows how long? I mean, Jaromir Jagr was one of those guys that could, who played into his 40s and was still going strong, in the NHL. And it looks like that Ovechkin might be a guy like that.
Paul joining us on the Wester Hotline to chat about last night's Sabres game. Ovechkin scores. All right, Paul, so the big headline is of a particularly rare play in the NHL that, of course, is possible, scoring in your own net. So we can get to the game, of course, but that play, that moment, is it bad break, bad luck? I mean, on the broadcast, Rob is screaming to give Utah the puck. And
because of the penalty.
Yeah, a delayed penalty coming up. Get a player off the ice. Let's go. And it goes the wrong way. So on a scale of, hey, it happens to, your organization's a disaster, where do you put the play?
It's just, again, the situational awareness that this team doesn't have. This happened to them a couple of weeks ago. When they were down and it would have given them a 6-on-3. They had the goaltender pulled, and nobody was yelling to touch the puck. And they wound up getting only like 9 seconds of a 6-on-3, and when they could have had probably 20 to 30 seconds of a 6-on-3. And same thing. I mean, somebody's got to let Quinn and Thompson know that there's a delayed penalty. You got to be yelling out there that to help each other. I know Lindy Ruff earlier in the season said this is a very quiet group on the ice, and it kills them. It's just they're just not aware of their surroundings. So they've done that twice. They didn't get scored on the first time on themselves, and then same thing. Situational awareness against Boston. 3 guys get behind you. And you don't know they're there. You have no clue. They do that all the time. They're standing in front of the net and they have no idea somebody's with them, or they have no idea that somebody's in the middle of the ice, standing there free. They just are. The situational awareness of this team is just astoundingly bad, and that's what that is. I mean, they've got to let each other know that you got to touch the puck, and here. Instead of having a 6-on-4 down a goal, they wind up having a 6-on-4 down 2 goals because they get the bad luck of scoring in their own net. Actually, they scored both empty net goals. If you want to get honest,
deflected.
The second one went in off Darlene's glove. So. This team, and by the way, they lead the NHL in empty net goals against with 23. That's 4 more than the next team. And but that's not what we're talking about here. It's just you take yourself. And they didn't play a horrible game. I mean, it wasn't. They didn't lose that game because they got outworked or anything like that. Their goaltending was fantastic. James Reimer played very well. You can't blame him for any of the 3 goals, the 3 goals that weren't empty netters. And but you don't give yourself a chance to win just because you just are on the ice and you don't have any idea what's going on around you.
Paul, when it comes to that, situational awareness, being a quiet group, like to me, it feels like now there's going to be a conversation how they need to be more vocal with each other, and they got to be more invested that way. And, previous conversations about defending teammates, it kind of, the bigger picture of it represents a group that, sometimes can play pretty well, but for the most part, part of the identity of the team is that they're asleep at the wheel a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've had that conversation that they're too quiet out there. Lindy Ruff, brought it up to them. As I said, this was early in the year that he brought it up to the media, that this is a quiet group and, he needs to hear more from them. And so the conversation was had a long time ago. But this is also a group that doesn't necessarily listen to their coaches. They didn't listen to Granato all that much. They didn't play the way Lindy Ruff wants them to play all that much. And, here are the results. So it is something that was brought up, but it's not something that they obviously have gotten too much better at.
Paul Hamilton on the West Her hotline. Paul, the late game situation, as you kind of broke it down again. Peterka is on the ice. He scores on the power play a little bit earlier. Did he look healthy to you? And are you noticing? I don't know. I'm trying not to do this because of all the rumors that are out there about him. The couple of rumors, there's not a lot. That like body language with him when he scores, like he never really looks, I don't know, enthralled. But again, that might just be something that I'm reading too much into because there's a rumor or two about him and his future with the Sabres.
Well, I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about rumors. But he doesn't seem to have the joy he had when he was a rookie. But that's been for a couple of years now. I've been noticing that, not just recently. He looked fine out there. He had a breakaway early in the game, missed the net. That was a great shot on the power play there to score. He had probably 3 really good scoring chances, scored on one of them. What I liked about his game is there were a couple of times, and I've started to see this more and more, where he hightailed it back and helped break up a play because his hustle back on the back check. And that's not something probably 2-3 years ago I would have been saying. Sometimes there wasn't a lot of hustle on the back check, but there were 2 different occasions last night where he hightailed it back. He broke up a 3-on-2, by getting back quickly. And there was once on the power play, too, where he had to get back. They had messed up a pass, and he had to get back to and help break up a play. So I think you're still seeing the intensity out there, but I think, obviously he doesn't like to lose, and this team loses, and I think it gets to him after a while too.
Another goal for McLeod last night. Kind of more big picture for him. There's a shorthanded goal. It's a nice finish. I don't think we've talked about his contract with you because he's also an RFA this summer. And I don't know. Do you think he's like 1 year? It went great. Let's just do it long term, the way they had done with a couple of other guys after one big year a couple years ago.
Well, he's a two-way hockey player. He was a good two-way hockey player before he got to Buffalo. That's why they traded for him and gave up a former first-round pick for him, because he is such a good two-way player. They were hoping that they could get a little bit more offense from him. That's happened. So that, makes the value of the contract up. But he was a good two-way player before he even got here. So that's why they went after him. So, yeah, I think definitely they'll be looking to get a long-term. What is long-term? Are they looking to lock him up 8 years? They're looking to lock him up 5 years? That remains to be seen. But I think it's important to get him locked up because you did give up a number one pick for him, and he's come as advertised, probably come better as advertised. Unfortunately for him, I told you that none of the 3 goals were James Reimer's fault at all, and the first one was on him. He's trying to throw the puck up the middle of the ice, and why? And it hit a skate. It hit Keller's skate, went right to one of the Utah players who was standing in front of the net, and he's there with Cooley, and they got a 2-on-0 in front of Reimer. And, of course, you get the pass over to Cooley. He gets the layup, and there's no chance for Reimer. Actually, give Reimer credit. He almost did make the save on the play. Almost did get over there, but just, again, trying to throw the puck up the middle of the ice, which I don't know why you're trying to do that. And maybe you had a Sabre open coming up the middle, but instead it hit Keller's skate, and now you're down by a goal. But that was a great play on the shorthanded goal to, step in where he did. And I would say I won't even guess how many, but quite a few of his goals this year are because he gets himself in good position because of his speed. Most guys probably would not hit a breakaway on that play, but he turned the Jets on, and there was no way they were going to catch him. I mean, he just widened the gap between him and the defense, and went in on goal and put a real sweet move on the goaltender for the goal. So, but I would say that's not the first time we've seen him create a very good scoring opportunity for himself because he turned the Jets on with that speed.
Paul, looking at these RFAs that we're talking about here, McLeod, Byram, Quinn, Peterka, how would you rank them? How do you think Kevin Adams should prioritize them, the RFAs, the guys that you want to be part of the core? I mean, Quinn, obviously, it's not gone well for him the last couple seasons, but is McLeod above Peterka? Is Peterka above Byram? How would you think Kevin Adams might prioritize them in terms of importance?
I would put Byram way ahead of all of them. And again, you made a trade to get him. Now that trade didn't work out for Colorado at all. I mean, they wound up trading him to Boston about a year. I don't know if it was less than a year later. It was a year later, basically. And but still, you at the time you gave up a good asset who was doing well for you, and. So I definitely think he would be the most important one and the biggest priority for them. I think he's played the best of them. As far as Quinn goes, I'd give him his qualifying offer and take it or leave it. That's how I'd be handling him right now, which would be a little bit under $900,000. And here's 1 year qualifying offer. See ya. If you don't like it, hold out. I don't care what you do. And so, yeah, Peterka, but Byram, Peterka, and McLeod would be the priorities.
What happened there with Quinn, Paul? Like he looked like there were good signs in his rookie year. He didn't light the scoreboard on fire, but it looked pretty good. And then even last year, the limited action he played, he had some good results. I thought he looked pretty good at times, even after, tearing his Achilles or whatever he did in that workout accident or workout injury. And then this year, just I can't even. Is it just injury? Is it just skating that's been the problem, or is there other things of his game you think that have just been lost?
I don't know where people are getting the skating thing. His skating is fine. He won't shoot the puck. I have no idea why a guy who has a shot like his, he did it again in this game. He cut in from the right circle, had a great scoring chance. He was basically coming by himself. He got around the defense and was cutting in and tried to pass to nobody. There was nobody there. It's like, what are you doing? Why didn't you just take that puck, continue to take that puck to the net and shoot it? It was just you and the goaltender. And he just, for whatever reason, just has the yips to shoot the puck. I don't understand how a guy, you talk about last year, he only played, I think, 27 games, or he was on a pace for like 27 goals. And, and he was shooting then, and the puck was going in the net for him. And it started going in the net right away when he got back. He had a couple of major injuries, and same thing as a rookie. But he has the yips and doesn't want to shoot, and I just don't understand why.
Confidence, right? That's got to be it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he just doesn't have the confidence in his shot, and there are a couple of times when he goes to shoot the puck, he fans on it or something like that, and it's just it's very, very mind-boggling to me, because there was really no question in my mind. I thought, this is a guy that can score 30 goals in this league.
I was going to say, Paul, for it to be a confidence point, there would have been a time where I feel like watching Quinn, he looked like one of the most confident shooters you could see. He looked like a guy that thought he could beat anybody.
Yes, and he could. As I said, he was on a 27-goal pace last year in very brief action, and that was the thing. He came back and started scoring goals right away. I mean, it wasn't like he didn't have a training camp or anything. He didn't get back until, I think it was December, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was going in from the net for him right away. And it's just a lot of nights I don't even know he's on the ice. I mean, it's just really gone downhill.
Jacob Bryson back on a one-year deal, Paul. Nothing really crazy to take away from that, I don't think.
No, it's the same money he's making this year. To me, he's the 7-8 D. The reason I like him as a 7th or 8th D is because he can sit there for a month, come back in the lineup, and he's fine. I mean, he steps right in and doesn't miss a beat and can play pretty well doing that. It's not very many players can do that, like sit for 2-3 weeks or whatever straight and then jump right into the lineup and be okay. But that, to me, he is what he is, and that's, to me, is your depth 7th or 8th guy. I don't think if he's in your top 6 for a long period of time, then I think you need a better top 6.
The one thing that him signing in combination with the Greenway and Zucker contracts is, I think their only UFA now is Reimer after the year, and I wonder because you would think there'd be at least a couple of changes where those spots, what spots are open, I guess. But would you think that if there are a couple of changes with the lineup, especially now that all the UFA guys are signed, that any change in the summer is maybe more likely to be like another hockey trade like we just saw at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, they have this, as I mentioned when they made the trade of Cousins, they still have to change out more of their core. I don't think they have to blow the whole thing up, but more guys have to go. They're one of the worst defensive hockey teams in the NHL in the overall season. That has to change. That's because of the core of the group, that they don't play the way Lindy Ruff wants them to. They don't want the way Granato wants them to, so they've proven that they're stubborn and they want to do it their own way. So you've got to move some of those guys, and you got to move some guys that make you better defensively, whether that's giving up on Owen Power. At some point, I mean, he's got to come to the party here. And he had a couple of really good games recently, but last night I wouldn't categorize that as a good game. Just somebody like him, or even Peterka. You talked about, him. Do I want to trade him? No, but tell me the trade. I wasn't, crazy about trading Cousins, but tell me the trade. You've got to start moving some of this core out of here because it's not working. This is the third year of this core, and it simply is not working. And it has to be more than Cousins. It can't just be, well, they've traded Cousins, now they're all set. Now they can just fill in around the team. No, I mean you've got to go a lot further if you want to get better results.
Paul Hamilton joining us, chatting Sabres. His appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. Thank you, Paul. Iowa State, how you feeling? Sorry, are they in the tournament? They're not? Neither Syracuse. I'm sorry. I've been talking trash, Paul. Did Paul drop off?
Did he hang up at the perfect time?
I don't know.
For that.
We'd like to talk about Iowa State a little bit.
Yeah. They're I don't remember picking them. No, they play Lipscomb. Yeah, 3 seed.
He's nervous.
Today.
I can't talk trash. How you feeling?
They're a 14.5-point favorite.
I know. Lipscomb. My kids picked Lipscomb to win that game. He dropped off right at the right moment as I'm asking about Iowa State. Anyway, our thanks to Paul Hamilton. Quick thing on Peterka, Byram,
McLeod,
the RFA class. So
Levi too, by the way.
RFA?
Yep. They started the clock on that right away. Remember? So
there's you want the doomsday scenario, or it's not a doomsday scenario, but context is important, and that's this: you want Kevin Adams to make trades, assuming he's the GM going to the offseason. His hand may be forced because offer sheets exist. And I'm not trying to paint a doomsday scenario, but offer sheets are about to tick up. We had 2 last year, right? There was a double offer sheet, Edmonton to the Blues, or vice versa.
So there were 2 of them last year. The 2 players that signed them were Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg.
Okay.
And they weren't big. 2 years, $9 million, and 2 years, $4.5. So it was a second for one of them and a third for the other.
Yeah, you could see the Sabres
and they let both of them go.
Get hit for those kind of deals. But the problem is, Kevin Adams is at a spot where if he were to lose a rostered player for picks, that's a loss. That's just bad.
Yeah.
Peterka, his agent, they decide they want to sign with the Rangers for $7.5 million a year if the Rangers would give him that kind of money. I'm just picking a team here. Anything that's a first, second, and a third. That sounds like a great return for a young player like a Peterka or Byram or something. But the Sabres can't live in that world. That is a loss, no matter what. They're not a good team that you'd say, well, we've got everything else in place. Let's just stockpile some picks. That's fine. If they think that a guy would get offer sheeted and put them financially where they don't want to go, they would have to get ahead of that and trade that player instead. Now, you know what we got to do? We got to talk to teams. Will you sign this guy? Well, it could be a delicate offseason for the Sabres because there are good young players, and here they are trying to turn over their core. And if you're Peterka, if you're Byram, and you're looking at what has happened in the last 5 years, what has happened? Guys have signed believing in a turnaround, and then it hasn't turned around, and they've had to leave. And for any one of these RFAs, what you have is a window to make that happen before it gets ugly and do it somewhat on your own terms. Even though the Sabres could match any offer, you could just, listen, I don't want to do this. So, are you going to make me sign with another team and then you decide you keep the contract, or you just get a first, second, and a third, or a first and a third? Or do you want to try to just make this happen for us, for you, find the right deal for you? So I would anticipate one of those players gets traded before they could go to restricted free agency because the Sabres should, I think really should, fear an offer sheet for one of those guys.
It really is interesting, though. Like, you got to... If you are, it's a tough spot to be in if you don't want to trade the player, right? Because you could dare him, and you could also play the league. The league is, even though those 2 guys got offer sheeted last year, those are the only 2 in 4 years that have been offer sheeted. It doesn't happen often, right? And if you are Adams, you're the Sabres GM, and you don't want to trade him, you kind of have to. You can't blink. You have to play the bluff game with the agent. Basically, this is if you even get warning. I wonder what that process is like. Would they know before? Would they get signs before, or is it just bam, there it is on your table? Your guy signed an offer sheet.
Yeah.
Like when Vanek signed with the Oilers, did Darcy have warning to that, or did it just happen and then he was faced with the situation? Because if you do get a warning, and the other camp, let's use Peterka just hypothetically here. Peterka and his agent are flexing, and they're saying, "Well, we're going to sign an offer sheet. We're going and we're talking to other teams." And if you're Adams, say, "Okay, we're going to match whatever it is," because then that is when you got to spook them into not doing it with the idea that we'll do it, even if you don't believe you'll actually match it.
But that's where the Sabres are in a unique position. Okay, you'll match it. All right. Go ahead and match him.
And that's, again, who's calling whose bluff. Because if Peterka's agent calls their bluff,
right,
so we're going to sign it. And we don't believe you actually. We don't believe you.
Not just that, but if they do match it, like, you're going to match an 8-year deal on a player that does not want to be there. Your identity for a couple of years has been about guys that want to be here. You've had ugly situations about guys that wanted to leave.
That's the thing about them.
And if here I have a player telling you, let's just make this happen. This doesn't have to get ugly. It doesn't have to get weird. And if the Sabres are the kind of team that's going to say, screw that, we'll pay him $8 million and play for us, play hockey. They definitely could do that. But you'd understand if the context of their last, half decade would lead them to be a little bit nervous about how that might go. So I do think it's a fascinating offseason. Doesn't have to be the doomsday scenario, but it's a deep kind of, he's in deep water, Kevyn Adams, with a couple of these deals. Byram, I think especially. Byram is the one maybe above Peterka on this because he could sign the kind of contract maybe that I'm not exactly sure it would be a great idea for him to sign for big money for the team that does it. But anyway, 803-0550, Jeremy and Joe. We'll get some calls in on the other side if you want to give us a ring. I found my favorite bracket ever. You know how like the tournament of this, the tournament of that. There's a great, great bracket going on that's down to the Sweet 16 that we can all kind of help build here in Buffalo. Get you that on the other side here on WGR. Jeremy White here for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of WGR. The Dog of the Day jackpot continues. It's very easy. You jump in to the March Madness with the Dog of the Day jackpot. And what that means is when you bet on a underdog to win, if you have bet on the lowest winning underdog of the day, the lowest seed of the day, then you get a share of $1 million in bonus bets. So, FanDuel.com/white to do that, to jump in on the bonus bets that come with the Dog of the Day. So pick some upsets, get some underdogs, some Cinderella stories. Through the first 2 rounds, the lowest winning seed of the day, you win a share of $1 million in bonus bets. It's an upset you will not be upset about. FanDuel, the best place to bet on the tournament. In March, anything can happen. 21 plus and present in New York. Opt-in required. Winning pre-live moneyline wager on lowest seed required. Each $1 million jackpot to be split equally among all eligible winners. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
First round of the NCAA tournament underway yesterday with a couple of upsets. 11-seed Drake beats 6-seed Missouri. 12-seed McNeese beats 5-seed Clemson. All the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds had a pretty easy time of it yesterday. Not a lot of big upsets other than that 12 and 11 winning. Arkansas beating Kansas as a 10 seed, moving on as well. Today, the tournament starts at 12:15. And rolls through the entire day. Alabama and Nate Oates will be in action at 12:40 as a 2 against 15 Robert Morris. Sabres falling 5-2 to Utah last night. Stephon Diggs leaves New England without a contract. He reportedly will stay in touch with the Patriots, that deal is not dead, according to Jordan Schultz. And the Bills are having a defensive tackle in for a visit, Leaky Fotu, formerly of the Cardinals and the Jets, 330-pound defensive tackle. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Jersey slides it across. This will be taken away, and it's McLeod with speed. Here's in behind the defense. Backhand scores! What a beautiful goal by McLeod. A short-handed goal, and it's tied this game at 2.
One of your moments of the game brought to you by Firth Jewelers. For all the moments in your life, go forth to Firth. Ryan McLeod's goal. The Sabres lose in Utah 5-2. Just looking at some fun props. Every team today to score 50 points, minus 130. Every team to score 60 points, plus 3,700, whatever. Some fun props out there if you want them.
I think your problem with that would be a fun bet, is like you're going to be sweating. The thing you'll be sweating today is Mount St. Mary's going to score 60 on Duke.
Yeah. Not likely.
Like your 16s might kill you.
That's why it's plus 3,700.
Right, yeah.
So I teased a bracket that I've just found. It's the Channel 2's website, WGRZ. There's a bracket for the best pothole in Buffalo.
It's
the Buffalo Pothole Madness bracket. Apparently there's a person, the Buffalo Pothole Bandit, has teamed up with Sean Ryan, mayoral candidate for this project. And there's a bracket. They're down to the Sweet 16. Maybe they only found 16, but whatever. 16 potholes.
Oh, it was more than 16.
For your favorite. The Vulcan Street Vortex against
Nice.
the Ashland Ave Abyss.
Nice.
The Best Street Bomber and the Glenwood Ave Gap. And the coolest thing about this bracket, I'm looking at it on Instagram, is they've got overhead shots of all of these, including the Chicago Street Crater. And they put a banana inside the pothole to give the scale of how big the pothole is.
That's good.
And these are just, the Chicago Street Crater is like, this is Duke. The Wohlers Ave Wormhole. That's Houston. These are powerhouses. Blue Bloods. The Sycamore Street Sinkhole.
Good.
The Rim Reaper of Linwood Avenue. Absolutely tremendous content. Buffalo Pothole Madness.
The Buffalo Pothole Bandit was the name of the...
I don't know that. The South Street Slammer is another one.
That's funny.
Best pothole in Buffalo. That would make Main Street's like the SEC, right? It's just nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
Millions of potholes.
Yep.
Anyway.
Everyone's got their favorite pothole.
803-0550. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Happy March Madness into day 2.
There's a pothole on Hurdle that's uncovered like a railroad track. Do you see that?
No.
There's a pothole on Hurdle that I saw. There was even a news story about this, that it uncovered like there was a railroad track below it, and they went back and found that it's from like the trolley track that used to go down Hurdle like 120 years ago. So that's a cool pothole, I would say.
Railroad or
you still
trolley?
need to avoid trolley track more than railroad track. Trolley track.
Yeah. Well, anyway, tournament today. Back to it. More games. Whether they're, buzzer beaters. Funny thing, this is about, like, how old everyone is. We talked yesterday, or this time, to Carl Jones of Channel 4, and he He tweeted something about the tournament that the first time I read it, it escaped me, just flew by me. And then upon the second read, I realized, oh, I'm old now. And what Carl wrote was, he basically shout out the teachers in school and whatever you were that let you watch the tournament on your tablets back in the day.
Okay.
And the first time I just retweet like, yeah, I can remember being in school and watching the tournament. I'm like, oh, so wait, I'm sorry, on your tablet? No.
Yeah, no.
For us, it was wheeling in the giant television that was on a cart and watching the tournament on that. Or, sure, let's take class down to the cafeteria. There's a television in there. You guys can watch the tournament if you want. Now, if you're a kid or you're in college or whatever, you just stream the whole thing on your phone. You've
got it right there. You're just allowing the kids to. You don't have to wheel anything in.
No. We had the old AV cart come in and pop the game on.
How many TVs are they having available though? That is it not every class is going to be able to do that? Right?
No, probably not.
You don't have a fleet of TVs for every classroom to watch the tournament if they wanted.
How many are in a fleet? Because how
many classrooms
in a high school? Depending on the size of your high school.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask. Because my high school was enormous. So, but we had. This is not again the difference of the time. We didn't have to wheel in TVs, but I also didn't have
in the room.
I also didn't have tablets. We had the big fish tank box TVs, early 2000s that are hanging in the corner of every classroom.
Yeah.
So they would just put it on there. So they have to wheel anything in.
A fleet is considered 5 or more.
Okay, then I think my high school would have had a fleet of TVs. There are probably 5. There might have been only 5.
Okay, so there could have been a fight, though, over those.
Yeah, you have to, as a teacher back then, you probably had to reserve them to wheel them into your room.
Right.
But yeah, wheeling the television in to watch. And whose classes are allowing TVs? Is it okay if we go? Can I go to Mr. So-and-so's? Can I go to Mrs. So-and-so's? I just want to go there and watch the games.
Yeah. Yep.
What a time. Watching on your tablet.
Yeah.
The young kids.
Are you still... would they teach the class, though, still while the tablets are being... Because at that point, I feel like if it's off in the corner, you can still kind of do some stuff. Whereas if it's right in front of you, you're you don't have to look through or past the teacher to look at the game.
My mom was a teacher, and on behalf of speaking with some of my teacher friends over the years, I feel like as long as you have everything, whatever, you're on schedule.
Yeah.
Letting the kids that want to watch the tournament, and letting the other kids do something else is a day off for you. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Yeah, do your thing.
Go ahead. Kentucky's playing. Have a good time.
I'm gonna sit here and read.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grade some papers. I'm gonna do this or that, whatever I had to do over the years.
Okay.
But I can remember that. Things I used to do for the tournament. Whether it's watching in class or skip out of class to go to the cafeteria and just sit there for a full period and watch.
I think I remember being annoyed, though, that, very picky, apparently, that I not only needed the game on, but I needed someone in the class that was paying attention to have control of the remote.
To switch games?
Yeah, if is there another game on that's good? This one is 25.
See,
this isn't even really watching the tournament. Because, I would have been in a high school, when I'm in high school, we had phones, but you weren't really streaming on them yet, and you weren't, you weren't watching the game on them, but you would have been able to maybe look up the score. So we could have been aware of, and you would have the bottom ticker too, there's 3 minutes left in the other game, and that's a 1-point game. We walk up and ask them to change the channel, and most teachers would just let you. I feel like.
Did you have
that already had the game on?
Did you have access to the Wi-Fi though? Because if you didn't have unlimited data, wasn't a big thing when we were in high school.
Yeah,
listen,
so,
when I was in high school,
unlimited data was king back then.
I don't even think.
Now everyone has it. I think.
I think so.
Hold on,
not everyone.
I remember I used to have to watch and see okay, if I have enough data here, I can watch the game or I can check the score. And if I didn't, then I was just asking all my friends, and we didn't have Wi-Fi or free Wi-Fi, I should say.
Mm-hmm. I'm right now Googling what year Wi-Fi became a thing. I don't think we had Wi-Fi, period.
In high school?
Yeah, I don't think so.
For you?
No, not No.
Yeah.
I would not be getting on the Wi-Fi. I didn't have a phone. The TVs were not streaming.
Right, what was going to Wi-Fi?
It's cable. So, yeah. It definitely wasn't a Wi-Fi scenario. And in terms of changing the channel, I want to say, again, I'm in high school from 93 to 97.
They had 6 channels back then?
There were a lot of channels, but I don't think True TV existed. I think it was just the games were on CBS, and they would take you to the game you wanted. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they had a family of 4 networks or not. The other thing that when I was in high school would have been significantly different, whatever, if Syracuse is playing, that's kind of like, today, you go to high school in Michigan, or yesterday, and Michigan's on television. Mm. That's a little different than just, hey, watch the tournament. It's our team is on. If the Bills ever played a game during school hours, wouldn't schools hey, weird thing, the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship game is on at noon on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Schools are either closed, that's probably what's happening. These schools are going to close if that happened. Or everybody in the auditorium, we're watching the game together as a group. So that's what this tournament can kind of give you, these afternoon games, and who's ever out there today. Like if you're, where's some of the teams playing? What time's the Iowa State game? Like if you go to 1 o'clock, okay, sure. In Ames, Iowa, are high schools bringing in televisions? I would think so.
Yeah, I would assume so.
803-0550. Anyway, happy tournament day. North Carolina against Ole Miss coming up 4:05.
That is the other game today where the higher seed is a favorite. UNC minus 1.5 over number 6 Ole Miss.
All right. 803-0550. Oh, yeah, the pick of the week. We'll get you that. Pick of the week coming up. And plenty more. 9 o'clock, we're going to remember some guys like we used to during football season. It's going to be a great time. We'll explain the rules at 9 o'clock. Jeremy and Joe on WGR.
Zachary, he'll put up a three. No good. Rebound, a scramble. Hunter has it. Hunter at the buzzer, it's good, but Cowboy up. McNeese has its first ever NCAA tournament victory.
Syracuse's Andrew Catalon calling the McNeese victory. He would be very, used to throwing it to Gene Steratore. Hey, Gene.
Yeah.
I got a couple of funny tweets during the day. For better or for worse, when people see Gene on their screen, if they listen to this show, they know that I am instantly mad that he's on the screen. And somebody write to me, I got home after a long day, popped on the tournament, and there's Gene explaining something to me. He did explain the water bottle technical foul and water bottle. And the funny thing about it was he explained, here's like video of, the coach is yelling, he's really upset, that's going to be a technical foul. And then Gene went into explaining how, this isn't the kind of technical foul I feel like is a good one for him to fire up his guys. It's going to kill his team's momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the official weighing in on the timing of when it's okay to go nuts on an official, which actually wasn't that bad. It's fine. But anyway, he's there all the time.
Did you hear him explaining what was trying to explain what was happening over the referee that was making an announcement for what the call was?
I missed that moment.
I guess he's not in the arena, so he doesn't know that that's happening. So what do you hear on the broadcast? Steratore talking over the official, telling us what's happening or what they've decided. Sweet. Good thing he was involved.
Time for the pick of the week, brought to you by Riverfront Auto Sales. So we've got a lot of tournament games. That's an easy pick of the week if we want that. Pick of the week from Riverfront. And I have decided it's going to be a hockey game next week because the Senators are here. Ottawa at Buffalo, Dylan Cousins, Dennis Gilbert, the revenge game, Josh Norris revenge game. Ottawa at Buffalo, Tuesday. Cousins, does he get a thank you, Cuzzy video?
He will get a video. He'll get a video and a nice round of applause, I bet.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, not a disliked figure.
Sabres play Minnesota tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Yep.
And then Winnipeg after that.
3 p.m.
Yeah,
on
so
Sunday.
a couple of afternoon games on the weekend for the Sabres. Pick of the week from Riverfront, a 1993 Chevy Corvette two-door convertible, sleek lines, iconic design, 5.7-liter V8 engine, perfect blend of performance and style. Feel the wind in your hair as you cruise in this American classic. Don't miss out on the opportunity to own a piece of automotive history. Visit Riverfront Auto Sales today and take this beauty for a spin. 1379 Niagara Street. Call 886-1626 for Riverfront Auto Sales. Day 2. Day 1, again, not that many buzzer beaters. More reviews than buzzer beaters.
Yes. So,
that's how it goes.
Anything more than one would have worked for that then. Yep. But it'll be better today, I bet.
Yep. We'll get some stuff. And Ovechkin scores. He is 7 goals away from breaking the record.
Yep.
Right? 6 from tying, 7 from breaking. And he has to get, I don't know.
It's going to be close.
It's going to be close. They are, the Sabres are 6 games from Washington, but the Capitals are 4 games from the Sabres. So he really would have to get hot. They play the Panthers tomorrow, then the Jets, then the Wild, and then the Sabres are in Washington. So it's 4 Caps games from now.
I've got a quick thought on the conversation that we had about Ovechkin the other day. Have you looked at the Capitals' schedule and who they play? This is where Colin Campbell, who said we're not going to do anything different because of the replay reviews. If I were Colin Campbell, I'd want to call every coach before they play the Capitals when he's a couple away and be like, hey, depending on who it is, if it's close, don't challenge it. Don't let it go. Especially given that if you look down the stretch, every team the Capitals play except for one team won't be playing for anything. Carolina won't be playing for anything. They're locked into, I think, the 2 seed in their division. Chicago playing for nothing. Islanders, there's Carolina again, the Islanders, and then the Penguins. Those are their last 6-7 games. Boston, too. No one playing for anything. But they play Columbus twice. Their third last and fourth final games are against Columbus, and that coach is fighting to make the playoffs. And if anything is even debatable, I bet he's the guy who's going to review it.
What would happen if it was obviously offside, but one of these coaches of a team that doesn't need anything doesn't challenge it?
If I were Colin Campbell, I would want to know from that coach before the game, even if it's obvious. I don't want.
But I'm saying once that happens, what do we as viewers say? It's offside by 7 feet. We're like, yeah, they let it go.
You're saying there'd be a controversy because they didn't challenge it?
I don't know. Got treated differently. Anyway. All right, 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. The Bosa deal. We should get a little more into that. The Joey Bosa contract, how the money of it tells a little bit of a story, and the timeline tells a little bit of a story. We'll get to that coming up here on WGR.
Hey, it's Sneaky Joe DiBiase here. Spring is in the air, which means it is the perfect time to refresh and renew. And if you're looking to do something good for your own community, at Roswell Park's Donor Center, they are in need of blood and especially platelet donations. And just like the flowers blooming, your donation can bring new life and hope to local cancer patients. The blood and platelet donations will help patients right here in Buffalo, stays local, so you don't have to worry about that part of it. And each donation will offer strength to those that are battling for their lives. So this spring, give the gift of life, donate blood or platelets at Roswell Park's Donor Center. It's a very easy process. The staff will keep you as comfortable as possible, and you're in and out. Refresh your own sense of purpose, help by renewing the hope for their patients. Please schedule your appointment today. You could call 1-800-ROSWELL or visit roswellpark.org/donate. The Roswell Park Donor Center, where hope blooms. Round 1 of the NCAA tournament began yesterday. Just a couple of upsets. McNeese as a 12 seed beats Clemson as a 5 seed. Number 11, Drake, wins over number 6, Missouri by 10. And number 10, Arkansas over number 7, Kansas. That's Kansas' first-round loss since 2006. All the 1s and 2s had a pretty easy time of it yesterday. Auburn, Houston, Tennessee, and St. John's. Today, the action gets rolling at 12:15. Baylor and Mississippi State. That's the 8-9 matchup. At 12:40, Nate Oates and Alabama against number 15, Robert Morris. And the final tip-off of today is at 10:10. So action going all the way through to midnight, at least. To hockey, the Sabres losing last night 5-2 in Utah, their first ever game in Utah. They did score an empty net goal on themselves at the end of the game. Next up is a couple of afternoon games this weekend, Minnesota and Winnipeg on Saturday and Sunday. To football, Stephon Diggs leaves New England without a deal. Had a physical with the Patriots, and the two sides will remain in contact, according to Jordan Schultz. The Bills having Leaky Fotu in on a visit, defensive tackle formerly of the Cardinals and the Jets, 6'5", 330 pounds. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Yeah, it happened fast. Coach reached out to me and all the staff reached out to me, and they were really interested in me. They thought highly of my game, and they think I have a lot to offer to this team. And, really enjoyed my years in LA, but coming to a team like, the Ohio State days where you're really living in a football town with an unbelievable fan base, it's really got me excited.
Joey Bosa, we learned some of the details of his contract, which tell a little bit of a story, and as we try to read what the Bills are doing in an offseason, where they might go in the draft, the Bosa signing might offer some clues. Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. A bluebird day. It's cold enough also to say it's like a bluebird day. It's going to be, chilly for the next couple of weeks. It's 30 right now, high today of 42, but sunny.
That means cold, too?
I mean, bluebird day is...
When you're blue,
I don't know
cold.
if it means blue. It's just when you ski and it's sunny outside, you call it Bluebird Day.
Oh, okay.
So is Bluebird Day used in non-skiing context? Possibly. That's where people say it.
I'm not going to lie. I don't think I've ever heard that phrase before.
Yeah?
Yeah.
See if it...
So cold and sunny.
Search it. See if it says skiers say it.
Isn't that in a Christmas song?
The term denoting a period of time characterized by sunny, cloudless weather, typically after a night of snowfall.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Christmas song.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
are you thinking of Mr. Bluebird's on my shoulder?
No, I just remember that being said in like a Christmas song. I feel like.
I believe you.
I don't know. Mr. Bluebird on my shoulder is in Zippity Doodah. Anyway,
it's not a patio day.
Debatable.
Unless you're doing it wearing a pretty thick jacket.
Sunny
right?
and 42
or medium jacket.
And the right layer can feel like 65 if you're in the sun.
Right.
It might be one of those days where the real feel in between sun and shade is 15 degrees.
If you're like me and you have 3 levels of jackets, I think the second level jacket will be needed though if you're out on the patio.
Who needs the shorts report? We get the Sneaky Joe jacket report.
The jacket report. The thickest jacket, the medium jackets, and then the light jackets.
We're going with Joe Jacket Level 2 day today.
Yes.
Everybody be aware, Joe Jacket Level 2.
Yes.
Well, anyway, it's nice out. Nice out, but in the 40s. You could golf in it. I think the coldest I've golfed in is 38. You and I played with Sal and Bulldog. It was 38.
A fall day, and it was very cold.
Yep.
Very cold. Like hand warmer, like football quarterback hand warmer on your stomach. Cold.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you can give us a call on really anything. So on Joey Bosa and his Bills contract, it's interesting that they've done it the way they've done it. When you hear 1 year, $12 million, you might be inclined to think like this drives home the difference between the NHL and the NFL cap. We live in a city with these two teams. These two leagues have caps. They're so different. 1 year, $12 million. That would mean this player's cap hit is $12 million. End of story. That's it. That's how it works. It's a AAV. That is the cap. In the case of Bosa, So his contract is for 1 year, $12 million, but the cap hit this year is 5.3. He gets cash in $12 million. There's bonuses that could hit as well, but he's going to get that money, and his bonuses for Caponomics, not likely to be earned bonuses. All that means is you hit a number you did not hit last year. He had 5 sacks. If he gets 6 sacks, he probably gets a bonus starting at 6 and moving forward. But anyway, it's a dead cap next year of $7 million.
Yeah.
So you have a 1-year deal for Bosa. If he lights it up and you extend him, that's great. But a dead cap hit of $7 million next season is possible. So if it doesn't go well, that whole low risk, high reward, it's still low risk. And $7 million to me is not a huge number. But, dead cap adds up, and it would eat into their cap next year if it didn't go well, is all I'm saying. But that said, for the Bills to leave themselves with that, Joe, leads me to believe that he is an extension candidate if he stays healthy and if they like the fit. He, of course, would be an unrestricted free agent. He has no obligation. They don't really have control, but they have incentive to extend him if things go well.
Right. It could. How well does it go, though? Because he's a big name. And given that injury has been more the problem in his career rather than production, he has been on a double-digit sack pace, I think, every year of his career but one, which was last year. You have to do that by pace because some of those seasons he's played like 4 games or something. So the production's been there. The advanced numbers look pretty good, too. If he comes out and he blows up, and the Bills training staff does a better job than... Hey, listen, the Chargers are the franchise in the league you might question for how they keep guys healthy. I don't know that was a problem for them last year, but haven't they been often criticized for how their trainers do things? They stabbed Tyrod Taylor in the lung with a needle.
That's a famous one.
Right? I think they got sued for that even. Guys always getting hurt. So Bosa comes in here, and it's a different training staff and a different environment, and he stays healthy, and he has 14 sacks. It goes awesome. They going to be able to keep him? That's going to be a huge number, probably.
It could be very big.
You talk about a 30-year-old, even at 30, defensive end with incredibly high pedigree, super high draft pick, great production. Now he proved he could stay healthy, and he had a big year. He's going to have a market. He's going to have a lot of market. And that's probably why, for him, he probably only wanted to sign a 1-year contract. I would assume rather than take a 2-3-year deal at a lower number, he probably wants to cash out after this year. And that could be here. So I'm open to it going that well. I feel like there's a lot of middle ground, though, that's likely to fall in between. There's so many different range of outcomes with him, where I feel like it's not crazy to think he could have 15 sacks and be awesome and be even I don't know about first-team All-Pro good, but maybe second-team All-Pro good, one of the better defensive ends in the league good.
There's definitely a track where he makes the Bills look like geniuses.
Yeah, and there's also a track where he just can't stay healthy the whole year.
And to me, that's where...
And then there's a ton of outcomes in the middle.
Yeah, that's where low-risk, high-reward is defined by if he's hurt and can't do anything and isn't really a big contributor and he comes up with 3 sacks and